following is a 24 Hours podcast.
We're moving on to the next question, and that'll be Monty Paulson.
Vancouver is a city without a center. Vancouver is a city without a center. We have no central park, no open square we turn to in times of sorrow or celebration. And I certainly don't count that little patch of grass north of the art gallery they keep sticking Olympic trinkets on. At the same time, our neighborhood parks are overcrowded. And around each one of our neighborhood parks, we're tearing down single-family houses and putting up duplexes and condo towers. So the number of people who rely on that park is growing, but the park space is not. Let's be blunt. Eco-density without new parkland is just density. What specifically are you going to do to add park acreage to Vancouver, and where?
Starting with Gregory Robertson.
Okay. Good question, Monty. Well, we can start, and I think Park Board Commissioner Spencer Herbert's motion to try and protect the parkland that we have and to effectively put a moratorium on any further intrusion into our parkland was a very strong motion. It was very unfortunate to see the NPA scuttle that. And we've seen some serious intrusion. No close to where I live, the curling center that has gone in the middle of Hillcrest Park, turning what was a beautiful open bunch of fields and now we have this giant monstrosity in the middle of it that didn't quite look like that in the charrettes and the so-called consultation. But there we go. We've now have a gigantic recreational building right in the middle of big green space. And we've, so starts with drawing the line from here on in. Where the land is going to be found is a very tough challenge. There are not very many blank pieces of land left, and there's always going to be tension between the remaining industrial lands. And I know there's lots of interesting ideas and suggestions about the remaining lands and Falls Creek Flats that have train tracks that are empty most of the time or sitting with trains on them that aren't moving. There's a lot of space down in there that we actually do need to safeguard for light industrial and future industrial use. That said, I think there probably is some space in Falls Creek Flats as that develops that can be used and where we can create parks. And I think with the development, any large developments that remain where we have the potential for density bonusing, where we need to revisit what eco-density is and isn't doing, and it isn't providing for more park and green space. We need to look at using density bonusing to ensure that there is green space in new developments that do take place, and that cannot be sacrificed when we're looking at new development.
Thank you. Raymond, it's your turn. It's actually Raymond Louis' turn. Yeah.
Well, I've got an unfair advantage here with Monty's question. Monty and I have had a conversation about creating green space in our city previously, although I'm not sure I can go with Monty's idea of tearing up 12th Avenue and creating a park and making a tunnel. But it's a good idea. Certainly green space and public amenity space is the cornerstone of what a healthy city is. If we don't have public space in a high quality public realm, our city becomes stagnant. We end up being people stuck inside. And that's not the type of city I want to see. I want to see people out in their communities using the green space, co-location of services in areas like our schools, and making sure that we, in fact, have a vibrant interconnectivity amongst our citizens. Without that, I don't think that we're at all reaching our maximum potential. So specifically on where, last term we created a 26.4 acre park in Southeast Falls Creek, which I'm very proud of to be a part of a council that did that. We made sure that the East Fraser lands was another major component of green space that was included as part of that redevelopment as well. And we have an opportunity with Little Mountain as well. And if, depending on that piece of, I think it's 10 acres, if we manage that properly, we can create some green space in that location. And I think we should. These large parcels of land aren't going to come very often anymore. And if we don't take the stand early on to make sure that they're preserved, we'll lose them forever. We know by experience what is happening in the downtown core, where we're not meeting the standard of the city because it is so expensive to buy existing buildings and build park space. And that's, I think, is poor planning as a result of previous councils. I hope that we'll intend to make sure that doesn't happen again. Thanks.
Thank you. L.D. Genova.
A question which is about my passion, parks and green space. I have to say, Monty, 2.75 acres per 1,000 people. The park board has tried to maintain that for the last 15 years that I've been on the park board. I can say we can start by creating green space by reclaiming Hastings Park. Over 150 acres of green space, the Stanley Parks of the east side. And that's not to say that we would have to lose our fair and or to have development which is increasingly on the eco-density on that side of town. But there's nothing wrong with having a fair in a park as opposed to a park and a fair. And we need to gain our green space back on Hastings Park. Number two, if you go down to Victory Square, the little park that could, we took it back. There's a place that you can go. We got a great little amphitheater set up. It's where we hold the Jazz Festival every year. We work hard to raise $30,000 so people can come from around to really enjoy that park and feel comfortable now. It's a park that you can actually walk through and stay there and have your lunch and not feel threatened. So I have to say that, you know, we have great parks in this city. As it was said, East Fraser Lands, northeast side of Falls Creek. I look at Little Mountain. We look at downtown now. We got 4 new parks coming on, and Smythe and Richards coming up, finishing the balance of Emery Barnes Park, which we purchased, and we had to actually, believe it or not, we had to expropriate one of the final buildings in order, and we paid dearly for it. But to pay today's price, when we plan for our families 100 years out, it's priceless. You can't set a price on that, folks. So today is when we need to buy as much as we can. We build into our DCLs, our CACs, but yes, the park board have been strong stewards, and council gives us a certain budget to work with when I wear my park board hat. And I can tell you, if I'm mayor, to remember for our children's children, like we did with Stanley Park, Everett Crowley Park, David Lamb Park, all 127 parks in this city, I have to say that we probably have second to none, some of the best parks in the world. We are building as many as we can through development cost levies, but I have to say the parks that we have, the families that use them, I think are more than happy.
Thank you very much. Raymond wanted to say something?
Well, I just want to add a couple pieces. Yes, Hastings Park is a park, and we need to make sure that we implement it properly so that the fair can stay. I would like the fair to stay, and that's what we decided on last council. But it is an important piece of the infrastructure on the east side of Vancouver, and we should be supporting that, greening, and the fair at the same time. Another piece of the park infrastructure that we tried for last term was the Eburn lands, where it was a TransLink wanted it for a bus barn, and we fought tooth and nail to keep it as a park for the parks board, for our city, but unfortunately it was expropriated from us. So there are opportunities, but it's about standing up to other levels of government. I spoke out loudly against, for instance, the provincial government taking part of Pacific Spirit Park out of the GVRD's jurisdiction to settle a First Nations claim. That was meant for all of us, and we don't know what the outcome of that will be now. So it's about speaking out to protect our park space as well.
Great. Thank you. And Al.
I just want to build in coming back to, and not to dwell on Hastings Park, because it is a park as far as we're concerned going back 100 years ago. I have to say that we could move forward and not inch out the P&E, but we could at least move forward as the plan was in place 9 years ago, is to bring Windermere Hill back and expand on that, and then work inclusively with the P&E. So we, like I say, have a fair in a park, but we need to move forward. On the east side, folks, we are heavily park deficient. It's not that we can't afford, we need to put the effort in there, and we need to work reasonably with council, along with the community, to know that there is a balance there, and we need to start with Hastings Park. And I know with the density happening around, it will be not just a destination park, but it will be a community park, and that's why Hastings Community Center desperately needs more green space, and we need to bring it back to Hastings Park.
Thank you. Did you want? No? Okay.
Vancouver.24hours.ca